fight. It was just about witnessing, just sitting back and being like, wow, this guy's good. I mean, he treated this guy like a sparring, but he beat him easy. I mean, and that is, you know, that is something even I didn't expect.
But he wouldn't stop. Well, Floyd was boxing him up. Yeah. So Floyd is just piecing him up. So Floyd, you know, I mean, even at 46, he's the greatest of all time. He caught Floyd a couple times with some little shots, but mostly he's just getting boxed up, right?
That legendary sparring session where Floyd Mayweather appeared to struggle against Terence Crawford has lingered like a shadow over his legacy. It's become the go-to evidence for critics who claim that even the undefeated icon had cracks in his armor when the cameras weren't rolling. But what if the story we've all heard isn't what it seems? Not the sparring itself, but the leak. According to boxing insider Paulie Malignaggi, the public might have been played from the start. This wasn't some random video that slipped through the cracks. It was a calculated move. And the mastermind behind it? Allegedly, the very man the footage was meant to embarrass. The clip has become almost mythical in boxing circles. It features a young, hungry Terence "Bud" Crawford walking into the iconic Mayweather Boxing Club, and not just surviving, but shining. For a few unforgettable moments, it looks like the rising contender was pushing the great Floyd Mayweather to his limits.
If you look at the scope of Crawford's career, he's made every world-class fighter look like easy work. It's really been something special to watch, to achieve, and you know, he fights out of two standards.
He got everything it takes to beat Floyd. Floyd struggled in the first half against Zab Judah. Zab Judah, a damn terrific fighter. Terrific fighter, but he ain't no damn Terence Crawford. Especially from the southpaw position. Floyd didn't like fighting southpaws. Floyd reached with that right hand. You think he's gonna reach against one of the best back foot counter punches in the game? He gonna reach with that right hand against Crawford? He gonna get slept reaching with that backhand. The way he reaches with that. That level change backhand he throws too? Man, that pull jab he does too, that ain't gonna work. That is not gonna work. Floyd got a 72-inch reach. Yeah, he had quickness, fast reflexes. However, Crawford got all of that too. He got all of that too. And he got a 75-inch reach. Great counter puncher. Can concentrate all night. Can put pressure on Floyd. He can even invite Floyd in. Yep, I noticed. Floyd's not having success.
The footage was gritty and unfiltered, showing Mayweather in rare form, looking human for once. You could see him getting touched up, backed down, and tested by a younger, sharper Crawford right there in his own domain, the legendary doghouse. When that video hit the internet, it shook the boxing world to its core. For Floyd's doubters, it was the crack in the image of perfection they'd been waiting for. For Crawford's supporters, it felt like a glimpse of destiny, the moment they realized he might be the one to carry the torch. But for people who truly understand the code of boxing gyms, one question overshadowed everything. How did this even see the light of day? Because in places like that, there's an unspoken rule. What happens inside the gym stays there. It's not just about secrecy, it's about respect. Protecting the grind, protecting the fighters.
I spar Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. Some of them be hard. You can't replace soft sparring, a comparison to get ready for a fight. I can hit the bag, I can hit the miss, all that I want, but nothing's coming back. I'm not feeling that presence of a person pushing me, hitting me, holding me. When the fight comes and everything is full blast, full speed, I'm not gonna be able to keep up because I done train that way. There got to be days where that fighter is trying to put it on you, because you fight how you spar. You spar how you fight. Now you're getting used to that. Now your body is getting in shape. So sparring is very important.
Every fighter needs a private place to sharpen their tools, somewhere they can fail, adjust, and grow without the world picking them apart. Inside those four walls, mistakes are lessons, not headlines. That's why leaking sparring footage is seen as one of the biggest betrayals in the sport. Now, imagine that kind of violation happening inside Mayweather's camp, a gym that runs more like a military base than a training facility. Nothing in Floyd's world happens by accident. He's built his empire by keeping complete control of his image, his brand, and his story. So the idea that someone could just walk in, secretly record him struggling, and walk out unnoticed, it doesn't add up. That kind of access doesn't exist in a place like that, which leaves one disturbing possibility. Maybe it wasn't an accident at all. Maybe it was planned.
Terence "Bud" Crawford makes history. A lot to unpack on an amazing performance by Terence Crawford. Wasn't the most exciting fight, but really it was about Bud Crawford. It was about what he accomplished tonight, and it was about, becoming the first undisputed world champion in the 4-belt era in 3 different weight.
This is where Paulie Malignaggi stepped in and started connecting pieces no one else seemed to notice. Having lived and breathed the sport from the inside, he immediately sensed something strange. The timing, the way the clip surfaced, it all felt too neat, too intentional. Something didn't sit right.
But in boxing, typically, we see that the new guys never get the credit of the old guys. No matter what, any boxing fans, pundits, or even new boxing fans, they say, nah, the old guys are the best, and these guys may be able to be in the conversation, but definitely not better than them. Dude, you gotta make at least a conversation point to talk about Usyk and Crawford being GOAT status. I'm not telling you gotta make them GOAT status, but bro, you know what? You gotta at least have that conversation. They've been that good, and we've gotten to witness them to be that good, and I think that's something amazing. I mean, from my end, to have seen them both do this, and what I saw tonight do Crawford.
He went on to drop a theory so explosive it flips the whole story upside down. In his view, that leak everyone talked about wasn't a leak at all. It was a setup. A calculated release planned by the very man who seemed to look bad in the footage, Floyd Mayweather. Malignaggi argues the only way that clip could ever hit the public was if Floyd himself or someone in his tightest circle signed off on it. In other words, what looked like an uncontrolled leak was actually a carefully staged play. Suddenly, the clip isn't about who got the better of a sparring session. It's a lesson in controlling the narrative. And Paulie's reasoning makes it hard to dismiss. After all, who would really risk going against Mayweather without his approval? We're talking about a man whose entire empire is built on loyalty and on cutting off anyone who dares to cross him. Inside Floyd's circle, there are no second chances. A sparring partner, a coach, a bodyguard, anyone who betrayed his trust by leaking footage would be finished. Not just fired, but blacklisted across the sport. No gym would touch them, no fighter would ever bring them in again. Their career would vanish overnight. The fallout would be absolute and the payoff, nothing. Which means there's only one person who could have made the call without suffering any blowback, the man in charge himself, and that brings us to the real question. The one that flips this whole story on its head. Why would Floyd Mayweather, a man with one of the biggest egos in sports history, willingly let footage out that made him look beatable?
Yeah, I wanted Crawford to win.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to win. So
Yeah.
everything is all good. Las Vegas, we do the same thing every time. You know what I'm saying?
How impressed were you by Terence last night?
I was very impressed. The combos,
Yeah.
I loved it. You did what I'm saying? That bop, bop, bop. I said, hold on. And he went back, bop, bop. I said, okay, it's real. You feel me? Yeah, man.
What you want to see next?
Next, I want to
One
see
second, bro. You see him?
Soldier Boy in the boxing ring.
Who do you think Terence should fight next up?
All
Do
right,
you think
y'all have
he's
a good
greater
one.
than Floyd, in your opinion?
Have a good one,
I
boss.
think that everybody got their own name, everybody got their own shine.
Yeah.
Much love.
Thank you, bro.
The explanation isn't found inside the ring, and it's found in the boardroom. This wasn't about punches or pride. It was about publicity. A calculated move built around one powerful idea: staying relevant. By the time that old sparring clip started lighting up social media, Floyd had already hung up his gloves. Meanwhile, Terence Crawford's star was exploding, his name climbing every pound-for-pound ranking in sight.
He lost to a smaller guy. I feel that the organizations and the belt have been hostage for a very long time. Now, it's nice to see. To me, it was more like a Rocky movie, and you see that those belts are free. Now a lot of people are going to have more opportunities because I think that Terence Crawford does not have the power that Canelo had, and to do whatever like Canelo was doing, Crawford, I don't think he has that. So I think little by little they're going to take those belts away, or he has to defend them, and the task is going to be a little bit harder.
Yeah, because David mentioned that he felt that should have been him. Like, it should have been his moment when that fight happened in Vegas, and that he would have had the same result. Like, he would have beaten him.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the reason that Canelo was asking for $200 million, because he knew that it was a big risk. And at the end of the day, he lost to a smaller guy.
By letting a clip surface where he appeared to struggle against boxing's new rising force, Floyd cleverly tied his legacy to Crawford's momentum. It was a strategic move, a way to keep his name echoing in every conversation about the sport's best, even years after stepping away from competition.
So, Terence Crawford has had an amazing career against a lot of very good fighters and world-class fighters, and honestly has barely lost a round. When you look back at Bud Crawford's career, there is something really special. It's one of those things now, because now I've now seen back-to-back generations of Floyd Mayweather and Bud Crawford, and man, it's one of those things where now I understand why the people that lived in the Ray Leonard era say, wish we could see Ray Leonard against Mayweather, and how that would be. Because it just leaves such an empty feeling when you have such special fighters that were in different generations, and you saw both of them. I saw the entirety of the Mayweather generation. I saw the entirety of the Bud Crawford generation. Just incredible. First, Crawford really boxed very, very well, very, very intelligently. The question mark was what happens when Crawford gets hit cleanly. I'm not sure he got hit cleanly the whole fight. He got hit with some partial shots. Some shots landed cleanly, but by the time Canelo started landing anything cleanly, I think he was hesitant because he was getting countered so much that he was taking some of the steam off the shots in order to hope to be more accurate. Because even late in the fight, there were a couple of shots that Canelo landed, but they barely moved Crawford. There were some good body shots Canelo was throwing, but Crawford started countering those very, very well. I think the key point started coming once after the first round. Crawford shifted a lot and moved a lot and wanted to just kind of see where Canelo's power was at. He caught a couple of shots on the gloves, and I think there came a point in the first 1 or 2 rounds where Crawford said, "This guy's not as strong as I thought." Because you started seeing Crawford hold his ground more and more, and you started seeing Crawford, doing a lot of catching and shooting. And in order to do a lot of catching and shooting, you got to be willing to take the shot, even if you're going to block it. If a guy's a big puncher, even blocking it can be uncomfortable. And Crawford started getting comfortable catching and shooting sharp shots. Crawford never loaded up, but he was sharp the whole night. Sharp with the jab, sharp with the counters, some well-placed body shots as well. Canelo landed here and there. I thought Canelo got really frustrated. I felt that headbutt was a little bit more than accidental, to tell you the truth, when he cut Crawford. I thought that was a little bit more frustrating.
Overnight, every discussion about Crawford's dominance came with one familiar name attached: Mayweather. By design, Floyd's shadow loomed over the narrative of boxing's new king. He wasn't just a retired icon anymore. He was the standard, the measuring stick that Crawford was compared against. In a calculated twist, Floyd managed to win by appearing to lose, trading a moment of pride for long-term power. He gave up a fraction of his image to preserve a dynasty.
I know Mayweather gets a lot of hate, but for me, he's a tremendous fighter. And Terence Bud Crawford is in that realm as well. And
this move is classic Floyd Mayweather, another masterstroke from one of the sharpest minds boxing has ever seen. Throughout his career, Floyd built an empire by crafting stories, stirring emotions, and staying in control of every narrative that surrounded him. He wasn't just a fighter. He was a showman who turned the sport into theater. He understood that being loved and being hated both sell, as long as people are paying attention. he created the money persona, the ultimate villain that fans couldn't look away from. People tuned in not only to watch him win, but to hope he'd finally fall. And Floyd, ever the strategist, knew that in today's world, attention is everything. Controversy fuels conversation, and conversation keeps you relevant. The so-called sparring leak was just another move on his chessboard, a perfectly disguised play that looked accidental, but may have been intentional genius. The ripple effects of that single clip are enormous. It doesn't just show Crawford's skill, it also reinforces Mayweather's invisible influence. Even when he's out of the ring, Floyd manages to make the spotlight bend toward him. It raises an uncomfortable question. Are fighters truly independent, or are they all still orbiting around the gravitational pull of Mayweather's legacy? Decades after his debut, Floyd remains the center of boxing's universe, the star that everything else still revolves around. That leaked video is a snapshot of his entire career, a mix of talent, strategy, and psychological warfare that borders on artistry. So next time that clip pops up online, remember, where you might not be watching a simple sparring session, you could be watching a calculated piece of storytelling from one of the greatest promoters the sport has ever known. Paulie Malignaggi may have pulled back the curtain, but the question remains, was this truly another example of Floyd's genius, a win disguised as a loss, or a rare moment where the king's armor finally cracked? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss what's next. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.